Hey, what's going on, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so now we are talking Phoenix Dallas Game 2, Western Conference Semifinals. And in the last game, what you saw was a Phoenix Suns team fend off an extremely hot Dallas team. Dallas was hitting every shot imaginable but couldn't get a stop early in the game to give them the type of closeness that ultimately their hot shooting would represent out there. You would think you hitting shots. Maxi Kleber's hitting 4 and 5 3-pointers. You'd think you'd have a lead, but they were down by 12 and 13 points because they had no answer for basically DeAndre Ayton, first of all, in the paint, continuing to be super efficient, and then Devin Booker on the outside and the various other things that they have. Chris Paul going crazy. They just really couldn't get things going defensively until they switched up their defensive scheme in the second half. Kind of allowed Luka Doncic to have the ball in his hands a bit more, and he was working his magic out there basically. So that was the gist of the game. You want to see more out of Jalen Brunson in Game 2. You want to see more out of guys like Davis Bertans as well, and you're just hopeful that their defense can carry forward. Now, on the Phoenix side of things, you just want to maintain what you've been doing. DeAndre Ayton has been relentless, and you've had some good sequences out of JaVale McGee as well. So you just want to keep those bigs fresh, keep them out there, and keep that size advantage so that you can continue to dominate this team. Because at the end of the day, to be completely and utterly honest with everybody, they're outclassed. And it starts with Ayton. But you also understand that they have players like Bridges out there, and Cam Johnson, Cam Payne, also contributing to everything. Obviously, Jay Crowder in the mix, doing what he does at his time of year. It's the playoffs, so he's going to be wide awake for this. It's just one of those situations where you look at the Dallas Mavericks and they too have weapons, but those weapons have to show up. Spencer Dinwiddie's been a no-show for the most part in these playoffs. Ever since Luka Doncic came back against Utah, he's disappeared. He's going to need to make a reemergence in these playoffs in order for Dallas to have any shot in this series. Maxi Kleber being hot, it's one of those situations where one game he plays great, next game disappears. Another game he plays great, disappears. You need consistency from the Dallas shooters. Bertans, Kleber, and Bullock are incredibly important to what they do. Obviously, Dorian Finney-Smith you throw in there as well, but you're expecting more consistency from those three particularly because Dorian's been playing great. Both sides of the floor, shooting the basketball, you name it, he's getting it done. And you need to feature him more, in my opinion, if you want to be successful, Dallas. You got to let him be great. I know you got a lot of players that you want to give the ball to, obviously. No one more so than Luka Doncic, who controls the ball for 75% of the time, and for good reason, because he gets the ball everywhere he needs to go, and most importantly, into the hole. So when you're talking about a guy who put on one of the great performances you'll see in these playoffs in this previous game, and it's just unfortunate that they just couldn't get enough stops soon enough to complement that hot shooting. Also, as we've said, Jalen Brunson did not have his greatest game. He was due to just kind of fall off a little bit since he's been playing absolutely incredible throughout these entire playoffs. Also, you give some credit to the defense that the Phoenix Suns are playing, because obviously they had something to say about that. So you understand that they're targeting certain players on this team early on, and Dallas is just going to have to find a way to continue to play together and to force the issue. Dallas is at their best when their defense is speaking for them. And that's what you saw in the second half of that game. They were forcing the issue, finding ways of getting stops with full court press. Maybe they run a little more of that tonight. I suggested in the previous video you see Josh Green a bit more in these sequences because he's probably the most athletic wing that they have outside of Dorian Finney-Smith. Reggie Bullock also is a player that has length and that uses it well defensively, has improved quite a bit over the years. I think as long as he's able to take quality shots and make those shots, you can feel great about having him out there. But he's been a bit anemic shooting the ball, and you just need that to fall against a very good Phoenix Suns team on both sides. So that's it. That's really what it is. You just need more out of people like those individuals that I mentioned. Because at the end of the day, Phoenix is going to get something out of everyone all the time. You think about guys like Cam Johnson, who is prime for a 25, 30-point game any day now. You know what I mean? You look at Devin Booker, who's Devin Booker. He's been Devin Booker since he was drafted into this league. He was able to score 30 points immediately and hasn't slowed down at all. And now he's developed other aspects of his game that basically make him someone without really any holes in his game. You know, over the last several years, if you ain't been looking, you didn't realize this is somebody who's now incorporated defense into his game, passing into his game, obviously 3-level scoring at all times, and he's just a bit more poised with the ball. His handle has improved, all these different things, and he's still extremely young at only 24 years of age. So the future is still blindingly bright for an already legendary player, and what's eluded him thus far is an NBA championship ring, for which I believe he's extremely hungry to get. And he has a running mate that is just as hungry, I'm sure, of CP3, who obviously is one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game, and continuing to build his legacy as somebody who has longevity genius as well, being able to manage the floor at a Hall of Fame level even now in his mid-30s. So you got to appreciate CP3. You're just hopeful that he can stay healthy and continue to do what it is that he does, which is compliment young teams. No matter who they are, they're better because he's on the floor. And that is just an elevation of his greatness. You can see it. So that's what I want to say, man. The Phoenix Suns, you look at this game tonight and you understand that the Dallas Mavericks have a lot of momentum that they've gotten from having some success in the fourth quarter and ultimately a fantastic performance from Luka. You expect that to continue. Luka probably could average the numbers that he had in that game, and no one will be surprised. He knows himself. He knows the floor. He knows his teammates, and he meshes well with his coach's system, man. If only he had a center out there that could do anything with Ayton, I think he'd have a very legitimate shot in winning this series. Listening to Draymond Green, he thinks the Dallas Mavericks do have a very legitimate chance of winning this series. In fact, he picked them to win this series. I don't see what he sees. Obviously, I ain't no basketball mind like Draymond, so I lean toward him, but I'll just ultimately think that Dwight Powell is going to have trouble. And if those guys aren't consistent, those shooters aren't special throughout every game of this series, the Dallas Mavericks don't have a chance. You know, it's that simple. They just don't have a chance. They're a good defensive team, but they're not good enough to fend off what they're getting from Ayton. He is the guy that just takes this thing and makes it impossible. Now, if injuries start to be a part of this thing, God forbid, then we will adjust our thinking. But as of right now, I don't know how Dallas is going to win games, even when they play well, because we've seen them be hot as they've ever been from behind the arc and still not even make a dent into the Phoenix Suns lead. So I don't know how that changes. I don't know how that changes. Even when they were playing great defense, trying to get back into the game, they weren't able to out-execute the Phoenix Suns. And if you've been following the Phoenix Suns closely, you know that they're one of the greatest finishing teams in regular season history. Now, their percentage of converting on clutch plays is substantial. So you have to respect the numbers, and they don't lie. Phoenix wins close games. So I'm sure they win the blowouts as well, obviously. It's a lot of winning there, and you just understand that the Dallas Mavericks are up against it. I would feel a lot better for them if they had their full team. We do understand they're missing Tim Hardaway Jr. He's been out for a long time, but, unfortunately, he's not anywhere near coming back. So that would be an extra 30 points and some defense as well. And we know with that type of spreading of the floor, that makes them that much more deadly. So, yes, they are undermanned, and nobody's going to really think too much about it, but Tim Hardaway's a serious player out there. So, given all of that we know, if I'm going to make a prediction for this particular game, I'm obviously going to pick the Phoenix Suns. They're at home. You couldn't do nothing with them when you were playing well. I don't think you're going to play any better than that. And I think the problem is the inconsistency, ultimately. I just can't say that I'm going to see Maxi Kleber make 5 threes tonight. I don't see, any of that. But I don't see at the same time Jalen Brunson being a no-show either. So take that for what it's worth. Maybe that balances itself out. Either way, they're going to need more, not just the same, obviously. So Devin Booker's not going anywhere. He's getting healthier by the second. That injury is pretty much shaken off, if not healing better, so more so now. So I do expect a physical game. I do expect that. Luka Doncic is going to try to close them out, so I don't think this will be a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. He will keep it close. The pace will be slow if he can control it, and vice versa if the Phoenix Suns have something to say about it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I just don't think the Dallas Mavericks are good enough to beat this team. Now, if they continue to stay hot and continue to play full court press the entire time, I think the adjustment is substantial and could wear down Chris Paul particularly. But that doesn't say much for the other youngsters that they got running around, that all they're going to need is just a night of sleep and be ready to do that same thing tomorrow. And that's what you run into. Chris Paul surrounded by youngsters, so you can do what you want. You're still going to have just as much energy coming back at you. And that's the problem the Dallas Mavericks are going to run into. You're not going to outrun them. And if you try to control the pace, Chris Paul is going to outthink you, and Ayton's going to eat all night. So that's that. I said that the Dallas Mavericks will get a game in this series, but I think that game will probably come at home with their back against the wall after going down 0-3 or something like that. So, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Luka Doncic is great enough to break all of these things down and just win the game himself. He certainly is, but unfortunately he's going up against a team that's has a couple guys who can do that too. So it is what it is, man. We'll just watch and enjoy greatness, and hopefully it'll be a good game. That's really all I have for this one. Not too much into specifics. On one thing I can say though is we keep an eye on the 3-point shooting of the Phoenix Suns, because they were super horrible shooting the ball from behind the arc in the previous series and got away with it. They were pretty good in the first game of this series though. I think they were in like 35% or something like that, which is okay, I guess. So as long as they're not hovering in the 15 to 20% and 25%, I think they'll be just fine. But one thing you don't want to do is shoot poorly against the Dallas Mavericks when they start getting hot. That didn't happen in the last game, but the Phoenix Suns need to keep their offense up and adjust to what's being thrown at them defensively in these adjustments. So that's all I got to say. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching, and I'm out.